Mm, mm, mm. Inkpulp live. Welcome, you guys. Welcome.
Welcome
Is
to
Sean
Inkpulp.
Crystal in the house?
What up, Inktober?
Is the birthday boy Jazzy Jamie Wood in the house? Yes, he is. He's right there.
Everybody,
folks.
everybody, can we get a big happy birthday for our faithful producer, Jamie, Jazzy Jamie?
Thank you, guys. I appreciate
Boy, these gloves, you really don't get a clapping sound
no
at all with these gloves on.
It's the thought that counts, Jim.
Got here. You know what? You know what I'm gonna do, Jim? You're gonna hate me for this, maybe, but you might like it. If we can get up to $200 in live chats tonight, Jim and I will sing happy birthday to Jamie. How about that?
Oh shit.
I like
That's
where
worth the
your
price.
head's at.
Come on, guys. That's worth the money.
Okay.
Yeah, that should be good.
I like where your head's at. You have to pay us to sing because Sean and I are so fucking tired right now with everything going on. But it's like, pay us and we'll dance like monkeys for you.
Yeah, dance monkey. But also, I'm about to dive into some inks in a situation that I'm not mentally and physically prepared for. I'm tired, and this is going to be a beast, but I'm gonna have fun with it.
Look at all this birthday love. This is
lots of stuff in the chat, guys. Thank you so much.
This is let's give the screen, Jamie. Give yourself the screen. Let's all applaud Jamie. There we go. Happy birthday, Jamie.
Oh damn! What $50 super chat from West Coast Adventure?
Shit. All right,
$50.
We are 25% there. If we can get another 150 before the end of the show, Jim and I will sing happy birthday.
Sean, I might have to go grab a little shot of vodka if we're singing later.
Jim, I think you should. I think loosen up a bit. I just took my edible, so I'll be loose pretty soon.
Okay,
Sean's always loose. Sean stays loose.
I stay loose.
Jamie, we appreciate you. We love you. Thank you for everything, dude. That's a serious moment right there. Did you see that?
Yeah,
that's
a serious moment.
That touched me, Jim. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, that was all right. Jim, you got some shit you need to lay down. Let's do it.
Okay, so guys, our super special guest, Inktober creator Jake Parker, the brilliant artist, is on tonight. Before we bring him on in about 10-15 minutes, let's just get into the business. Kickstarter had an incredible day today. Jazzy Jamie, can we show off the Scotty Young cover that dropped today, if it's available? Boom, right there. There it is. So this is available now on the Kickstarter link below. Custom cover from the one and only, the grand heavyweight champion of variant covers, Mr. Scotty Young. We dropped this morning, and it really gave a big boost to the campaign today.
It's amazing. It's amazing what Scotty's like built and what just having him do a cover, like seeing, like I was curious. I woke up this morning, I was like, I just want to see. And then right before the show, I was like, God damn, that was a nice
dude.
boost.
It's so awesome. And the image itself with the Halloween colors is great. And Scotty, if you're catching this later, I just want to say to you on air at public record, thank you so much, brother. I appreciate it. So
yeah, I also want to say that's one of my favorite Scotty covers. Like that is, you could tell he just went loose and had fun and just rocked out on it.
Oh yeah, man, I love it. And I mean, look at that! Look at that chainsaw.
I know, it's so good, so good.
It's great. So Sean, we've also had a bunch of awesome fan art come in. Jamie, can we go through some of the fan art real quick? This is Kitty von Lustbaden.
Yes.
He did another piece that we showed last show.
This one?
This one.
Right.
Yes. What else do we got? This is Alejandro Fuentes.
Oh,
incredible artist.
Dude.
Incredible.
We got this right after last week's show. Jim sent this to me, and I was just I was at home in bed just staring at it. It's so beautiful, but what this image did was it made me like just step back and be like, Jim, I hope you know, like, you've created something here. Like, you've already got badass fan art from dope ass artists, and the book isn't even in people's hands yet. Like, that's something.
Yeah, this is not what I was expecting with this whole Savage Street vigilante thing. It's fucking cool, man. It's also, there's no style guide really for the character, so it's great for other artists, because to me it's like you can just interpret the character and his costume the way you want. It's a warped version of the Cape Crusader with a chainsaw, and he's riding a Garfield bat monster. Like, dude, this is fucking
Yeah,
awesome.
it's amazing. And the colors are just
This is
incredible.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's beautiful, beautiful.
This is our boy Adam Archer. This is like a quick sketch,
Oh shit, I haven't seen this yet.
kind of unfinished piece, but he posted this
Dude, that
either
is
on
dope.
Twitter or Instagram, but the energy of it, like Adam's work is fantastic.
Adam is fantastic, but it's that the shapes, the black shapes and the feathering with the brush, like that is some top-notch inking right there.
Yeah, dude, this is almost getting into Troy Nixie kind of Al Columbia vibes with the shapes and the inkiness.
Yeah. I see some Heron, James Heron too. Like, yeah, it's dope.
So good, man.
Oh, and by the way, speaking of Troy Nixie, we got to call out Troy. After the show ended we talked about Mignola last week. Troy Mignola. And so we talked about Mike Mignola, and Troy, who knows Mike, is friendly with Mike, corrected me on my pronunciation after the show. I got a text, Sean, it's Mignola. Sorry, Troy, I'm not in the in club.
Show some respect.
All right, next up, Jamie, go ahead.
This is Emmanuel Garcia.
Dude, that is fucking dope.
People have just been tagging me on like either Twitter or Instagram. Yeah, this is awesome. Dude, this is, I don't know who the name of this artist, but it's Funny Books and Giggles on Instagram. And check out the pumpkin knee pad on Savage Street Vigilante.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
It's awesome. It's great.
I love that you built something where it's like, it's almost encouraging everyone to put their spin on it. It's awesome.
Yeah. Do your own thing for sure. We showed this already. This is John Woodard, my homie, who self-publishes. John does almost all exclusive like crowdfunded comics, and he even does like some fun like naughty adult style comics, and he's just fantastic. He's awesome. And then Kitty.
Saw that. Oh shit!
This is the Rojo Kova. Is the name of the Instagram? That's sort of it. He just like tagged me on this, but
dude, I love that sword.
The pentagram on the sword.
Awesome. So good, dude. Dude, are you getting like inspired to do this, to do a second part just from seeing the fan art?
Yeah. I mean, it's
much
like
fun shit you can kind of like push this into.
Yes. Oh shit! So some of the artists are actually in the chat, which is great.
Yeah, a lot of them are. Yeah. Whoa.
Oh shoot! Hold on real quick. That is Dom Gomez art on Instagram.
I love
that's so colors. Badass.
That's like a Nathan Fox palette.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And then that's all of them, Jim? Is that all?
Okay. Yes. And then I also did. I don't know if anyone has ever done this before, but I did an original art drop today, and it was on the Kickstarter because I sold all my original art tiers on the Kickstarter. So I figured, well, let's just keep loading stuff onto the Kickstarter. So can we show some of that off real quick, Jamie? So these are all, ink on paper, sketchbook freestyles, guys, that are now available on the Kickstarter.
Those are gorgeous.
8 by 11 inch. This one sold today.
Oh, that's awesome.
So these are 8x11, $675 each. Not too pricey.
Nice.
I think that's fair.
This
Yeah,
one's
that sounds
awesome.
good.
This one's so cool.
Yeah, these are awesome, dude.
And then we have Sean and I, our collab from a week ago on Inkpulp.
Yeah.
This one's up on the page, and then we have mine. And then another black and white one, and then okay, there's a couple more.
Dude, there's like some serious Bisley stuff coming through in your hatchwork.
That's my guy.
Oh, dude,
my guy.
that is insane.
And then I finished this one from last time, and this is available for purchase as well. So, yeah, it's good. We're good to go with everything. So you guys, again, thank you everyone watching for supporting the Kickstarter. Let's keep the momentum going, keep the energy going. And finally, I think this is the last part, right, Jamie? Can we show the Punker Mike stop motion animated promo from the legend Punker Mike, man?
This is awesome.
1986. A masked vigilante stalks the streets of Freak City, seeking final vengeance against his evil rogues gallery. Defective Comics presents Savage Street Vigilante, an over-the-top, creator-owned superhero parody comic book unlike any other. From fan favorite artistic sensation, JimahFood. 48 pages of pure, glorious destruction. Launching October 1st on Kickstarter.
Dude, I'm just blown away. That is so awesome. Did you notice that when his skull cap comes off after he gets the injection in his brain, it's like it's one of your drawings from the book, like his expression and everything?
Yeah. It's crazy.
So good. So good.
And dude, there's even Easter eggs in it where in the last shot when the book splats against the wall, there's a graffiti tag that says spit. And that's a reference to an episode of Trash Movie Bonanza that Chris and I did, where we were talking about Death Wish 3. And I was referencing Beat Street with the graffiti writer spit. And Chris like lost his shit and started laughing. But those are the Easter eggs, dude. That's the effort. That's the artistry of it. Where Mike was like, "Did you notice the spit tag?" I'm like, "Dude, what? This is incredible." So check out Punker Mike on Instagram, and he also has an incredible YouTube channel as well.
Yeah, guys, let's all give Mike a follow. So what's on his YouTube channel? I didn't know he had a YouTube channel.
More of these stop motion videos.
Is that like is he a stop motion animator? Like, is that his like day job, or that's just his passion?
No, he's I'm not sure what his day gig is, but he is like a custom toy builder. He'll build and arrange and build sets, and then do tutorials on YouTube with how he's doing all of this. And then occasionally he'll make a full blown like stop motion video with it. And I want to shout out Phil Ramirez as well for the voiceover on that. Fantastic job from everybody.
Amazing.
So
that's good.
Pretty awesome, man. This whole Kickstarter thing, pretty cool.
Are you guys hearing pops when Jim talks? Like Mike.
I thought that was my side, but
no, that's Jim. When he speaks. I don't know. I think there's something going on with live stream in the audio tonight, maybe. The StreamYard. I don't know. It's not bad. It's not bad. I just yeah.
Okay.
Dave says it's your mic. I don't know what would be different about your mic this time.
Yeah. I don't know.
Don't worry about it. We're good. We're good. We've got a big show tonight. Like, we're sitting here talking, but we've got a really big show tonight. It's Inktober, everybody, and we're gonna sling some ink tonight. We usually have a clearly defined subject that we're all drawing, but being that it's Inktober, I figured let's run wild and just do what we want to do. And we've got a very special guest in the house tonight. Is he in the waiting room, Jamie?
He is
Not yet?
not yet.
Okay, I'll text him if he's not here in a minute. But we do have the creator of Inktober joining us tonight.
Yes. Hey, while you guys wait for 1 second, I'm gonna unplug my mic real quick. So
Cool.
Okay, all right. Do you think that'll fix it?
I think it will. Do I put bets on?
Guys, don't forget, if we get to $200 in super chats tonight, we are gonna sing. Jim and I are gonna sing "Happy Birthday" to Jamie. We've already got one $50 super chat, so I'm wondering if we can make it, because I'm ready to sing. I'm ready to sing. I got it.
Good Lord.
That's the wrong mic.
oh, there we go.
Yeah. Oh, it
There we
stopped.
Yeah.
Oh no, there it is.
Yeah, it happened there.
It's back. I think it's
It's
a
all good.
StreamYard.
it's
Yeah,
fine.
don't worry about it. It's pretty minor. I just have these massive headphones on, so I can hear it, and it's still subtle. It's not bad. All right, so let's get. I gotta get inking, man. I gotta get this done during the show, and I got a lot of work to do. Let me switch
Yes.
my camera here
I'm gonna switch over as well.
so I can show you all what's what.
Yeah.
There we go. That looks good.
Check 1 2 coming from the pop city of pops. This is Inkpoptober. We get
So-
loose tonight, y'all, with the pops.
All right, let me explain to you all what I'm doing. I got this Batman. This is a commission I'm doing for New York Comic Con. It's very, very lightly penciled, very loosely and lightly penciled, and I'm going to use that nib system and the Sharf brush tonight. This is the Gaijin brush.
Oh damn! Look at that.
And guys, if anyone wants a commission like this, hit me up, because I don't have many for New York Comic Con. So if you like where this is going and you want to get one for yourself, hit me up. I'm also going to be doing them on tone paper at the show with white paint as well. So
I love that
Just
tone
hit-
paper.
yeah, me too. So yeah, this
Jim
is going to
Lujan
be
in
a
the house.
lot,
What's up, buddy?
of figuring shit out as we go. We'll see how it goes. Got my trusty ink ready. Get my-
Jamie, can you give me the camera real quick? I'm gonna do something for you, buddy. I'm reinterpreting Sean's Batman drawing that he did tonight, but I'm turning it into a birthday card for you. Okay.
Oh, nice.
Best birthday card
But this
ever.
is I'm gonna give the crowd really what they're here for, a little hand style on the lettering
shit.
tip,
Oh, shit.
personalizing this to Jazzy Jamie Wood. Here we go. Happy B-Day.
Jazzy Jamie. Jazzy Jamie. Hey. Jazzy
Best
Jamie
wishes. Dartboard. Master.
Yes, Jim.
Copyright symbol. There we go. That's my contribution for the night, you guys. I gotta go. Take care. Good night, everyone.
Guys, if you want to ink along this Batman, I did scan the pencils, and on my story on Instagram is the link. You can download them, and you can print blue lines or do whatever you've got to do. But they're there. Looks like we have a guest in the house.
It does
Oh
indeed.
shit. Oh shit.
Let's see who we got here tonight, Mr.
Yes.
Jake Park.
What's up?
Welcome.
Jake
What's
Parker.
up, Jake?
I was
Thanks,
sitting
Jake.
there. I was sitting there looking for the link to the studio, and I was just waiting for it to come, and then I realized I didn't check my spam folder, and there it
Oh,
was.
damn. Yeah, yeah.
that
You're
makes
good.
sense.
You're good.
So I was like, tired. I'm right here. I'm waiting. Come on, guys.
Oh damn. Well, you're
thanks
not
for
late.
coming on.
You're not late. Everything's cool.
Cool. We're drawing.
How
We're
the
doing
hell
some
have you-
inking now.
Yeah, we're slinging some ink. We're getting busy, but I did want to ask you, Jake, how did you create Inktober? Like, what inspired that?
Yeah, it was 2009. It was like the summertime, and I worked at Blue Sky Studios. We were working on Ice Age or Rio or something like that, one of those movies. And like I had been doing sort of like we'd been doing like in-house art challenges with each other where someone would throw out a prompt and everybody would draw it. And there were also people in the studio. It was summertime, so people were like trying to get in shape and stuff, and there was a lot of like fitness challenge stuff going on. There was P90X and like people doing these 30-day 30-day weight challenges or running or whatever. And I just put one and one together. I was like, what if there was a 30-day art challenge? And I wanted to learn how to ink. So I'm like, what if I did like 30 days of inking? And so I was like, this is cool. And my friend actually, he came back from Japan. He brought back a bunch of pens. And one of these pens is this, it's like a zebra fude brush pen, I think is what it's called.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And he let me borrow it. I was like, this is really cool. I watched him draw with it. It's got a brush tip. And it's crazy how much things have changed from 2024 to 2000, like 15 years ago, right? To 2009. These kinds of pens weren't like readily available. There was no like devoted pen stores, and there was online shops, right? There was no, like, you couldn't go on Amazon and find pens. Like Amazon back then was books still.
Right,
you know?
right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so I somehow found where I could get these. I ordered a bunch of them after trying it out, and I was like, I want to get better at doing this. And it has like the brush tip, and I'd messed around with like dipping a brush in ink before and drawing that way, but the brush pen was like this beautiful thing where you could have all of the benefits of using a brush without like the hassle of it, and like making sure your brush is washed properly when you're done, and making sure the ink consistency is right every time. And so anyways, I wanted to get good at it. The pen was unwieldy. I needed a structure and a framework to give me motivation and accountability to work on getting better on this. And so I was like, well, let's at the same time too, I'm like, well, let's turn this into something that maybe other people could do with me. And so I was like, well, it needs a name, it needs branding, I guess. So I was like, let's call it Inktober.
Jake thinks that.
Right.
But did you pick October just because it flowed off of ink?
Yeah. And actually I did a bunch of my drawings prior to October, but I was like, I'll just start posting them in October and like finish up the rest of them in October, because I was doing them daily. But I was like, I could like get ramped up and watch this thing. And so I posted it on my blog. There was social media back then was like Facebook and Twitter, and that was about it. And not everybody was on those things. It was like, it was still pretty raw and new. And everybody in the artist community were mostly on blogs still. And so you would post your artwork on blogs. Everybody would have the feed, the blog feed reader through Google.
Oh, yeah,
And yeah, you remember that? And you go in there and you just see who posted, like have a little notification of new posts, and you could go comment on people's blogs. And I actually love that version of the internet. I wish we could get back to something
Yes,
like
man. Yeah, dude. I talk to Scotty Young about this all the time. Blogs, that was the peak. That was the shit. When everyone had a blog, and you would check your favorites every morning when you had breakfast or coffee, and all the imagery was super huge on your screen, and you weren't looking at everyone's imagery this big on your phone on Instagram.
Right.
And that was the way, man. That was like the best way to share things, you know.
Well, while we're talking about it, guys, please go to my site, inkpulp.tv, because I have a blog. I'm trying to get back to that. I seriously I
You
just
wanna know-
started posting like a week ago.
The thing that I think gets closest to that these days is Substack, I think.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
I don't know if you guys do that, like have Substacks, but there was a bunch of comic artists who got on there a few years ago, and I know
Yeah, I
Substack
remember,
was
yeah.
like, you know, paying out some nice advances to people doing Substacks. But I think that is like, it's the closest thing to what we had prior to social media, and you can post it. It goes straight to people's emails if they're subscribed to it via email, or it just goes to their notifications on the Substack app. But people could comment, and it's just, I don't know, it's just it's really cool. I've been like messing around on that a little bit more, and I'm feeling like I'm gonna dive in a lot deeper in the coming year doing that kind of stuff.
Well, you got me
nice.
thinking. I think on my website I might be able to turn something on where every blog post gets emailed to my newsletter people. That would be fun.
Yeah. I mean, that's ideal, because the cool thing about having the email list is, you know, social media. There's always these social media exoduses, like, and
Right,
it seems like it happens twice a year, where everyone's like, "All right,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
on Blue
Yep.
Sky now," or, "All right, I'm on Kara now,"
Right,
and
right.
and everybody leaves, and then 2 weeks later they're like, "Oh, I'm just going to post this one thing on Instagram," and of course, you know, all their fans are still on Instagram because they're not artists, right? So they're sticking around because, you know, they have other interests than just art, and so they start getting traction again and whatnot. And it's just like this cyclical thing where there's, you know, people leave and then they come back, and then they leave and then come back, and I anyways, getting off track here, but the thing with Inktober was that first year I posted on my blog, and there was a blog called drawn.canada.ca, and Drawn was like a pretty influential like art illustration, comic art type of blog that would just report on cool things that were happening in that world, you know. And so one of the guys, I guess, followed my blog and was like, "Oh, this is cool. This is worth an entry on blog or on Drawn." And so he posted about it, and that's where it got like its first sort of traction, where people outside of my little sphere of influence were into it. And then every year it just kind of grew a little bit more and a little bit more, and it really didn't go viral until there was that year that like everybody joined Instagram. Like, so there's like,
Oh yeah.
there was years leading up to Instagram where, you know, people were joining, and then some threshold happened, and like everybody had to have an Instagram account. I think that was like 2015, 2016, but the hashtag was also introduced around that time too on Instagram. And so I was like, if you're doing Inktober, just put the hashtag on your posts, and that way other people could see your Inktober drawings. And that was when it really like exploded. It was like that combination of people coming to Instagram, hashtags being used. You guys remember a time before hashtags?
I mean, I do, but yeah.
Yeah, I remember it. I don't think I've ever successfully used a hashtag.
Well, it's easy. You just push the hashtag button, and then you type a word after it.
I know that, Jake.
Yes.
I've never been able to use it to gain any more traction than if I didn't
gotcha.
have it on there. Smart ass.
I gotcha. Anyway, one thing though, that was 2009 was when I started it. 2010, that was like the year where it's like, is this actually going to be a yearly thing, or am I just going to like, was it just an experiment? And I was like, no, we're going to do it. I'm going to do it this year. But on October 2nd, I had an accident and like smashed my face and broke my teeth. I did a face plant on like a hardwood floor playing like volleyball, And
shit, dude.
yeah, it was nuts. The guy next to me, my teammate, he like lost his footing as I was diving for the ball, and his like weight landed on the back of my head and just crushed it into the ground. Right.
Damn, man.
Right.
That's
So
awful.
I was like in the hospital, and I was on pain meds, and I just felt miserable, and I was like, I'm not drawing, I'm not doing it. And so it wasn't until 2011 that I was like, that was like the true test. Like, is this going to be a thing I do or is it not? And in 2011 is when I did like a full story using Inktober. So I did a 31 page
I remember
illustrated
this.
story. It's like with a little rabbit and a bear, and they're like delivery men. And then I just stuck with it. Except for this year, I've only done 2 drawings. This year's been crazy. But I'm gonna switch my camera to my desk top here.
Awesome.
Yeah, man.
And I want to get.
And hey, Jake, before I forget to ask you this,
Mhm.
since this year has been crazy for you, can we get into like what you've been working on this year? Like what's keeping you busy?
Yeah, let me find the right camera.
Oh, sure.
There we go. So I printed out your Batman, Sean.
Oh wow,
I'm gonna-
everyone's inking Batman.
I want to try it.
All
wanna-
right, awesome.
I want to put my spin on it. That's cool.
Yeah, I'd love to see that. I would definitely. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. I mean, I'm just making marks. Jim and Jake, have you guys met before?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've crossed paths a few times.
Yeah, man.
Okay.
I think the last time I saw you, was it maybe Seattle convention or I'm trying to remember.
Probably. Yeah. Probably.
The shows kind of start to blur together, man. But I do vividly remember like being in an aisle with you and actually hanging out and talking
Yeah.
and catching
been
up.
years,
And then, yeah, I mean, that could have been 5 years ago or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Time is moving,
so
man.
It's been a while. So I'm 120 pages into a 250 page graphic novel right now.
Oh,
And-
wow. Okay.
Yeah. So that's what I'm working on. I'm dividing my time between that and I run an online school called svslearn.com.
Yes.
And we're sort of relaunching, we're launching like a 2.0 version of it. And we're shifting from, just showing up and like watching or, downloading classes and watching sort of on-demand art classes. And we switched it to adding a very highly concentrated like community aspect to it. So we're doing like weekly office hours. So if you're working on one of these courses and you're like stuck on something, you show up at office hours and a professional, one of us founders of the school or another professional is going to be there just to chat with you and take questions. And then we're doing, we're having like cohort sessions where people are taking classes together and things like that. So we're hoping that like sort of improves the learning experience for people because it's hard to do stuff on your own. It's hard to have that motivation to kind of like get out there and like do a thing on your own. So
completely, man. Yeah. That sounds awesome.
Yeah. So that's it's that and then like yesterday I went to Salt Lake City. There's a school, Salt Lake Community College. They had me come out and give like a talk on creativity, and I've been doing a few more of those here and there. Like from time to time, schools will like they need a guest speaker or something, so I'll just go out and talk about my thoughts on how you should be a better creator and like how like tips and tactics to thriving in like the 21st century of in the creative fields.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah. That's when did you realize that you were good at like the educational spreading knowledge, sharing information part? Because most artists do the opposite of that. Most artists just want to be silent and in their studio making the work. And
Right.
it seems like you figured out this really clever way of like making the work, but then also being in the world and sharing that knowledge.
Yeah, that's a great question. I gotta say, so I worked at Blue Sky for 5 years, and I was getting kind of burnt out on working on animated films, and I wanted to like shift my focus into publishing and doing more like comics and children's books and stuff like that. And so I'm gonna actually switch to a brush pen here. See how that works. And so, but I needed like a bridge between those two, and BYU contacted me out of the blue, and they're just like, we need a professor, a full-time professor for a limited time for like a few semesters, and it's full benefits, it's full salary. We just need you to come out here and teach, and we'll compensate you well. We'll and you'll have 3 days a week at the school, and then the rest of the week you can work on whatever you need to work on. And I was like, oh, this is perfect. Because I can use those extra days to like work on the publishing stuff that I was trying to get up and running. And so I went to the school. I was super nervous. So I'm like, what am I going to teach these kids that they don't already know, that they haven't already learned, online or from other teachers? And what I found was I kind of had this knack for, not just a knack, but like an interest in sharing my ideas and sharing the, like, I would say like my approach to creativity and to design and all that stuff. Because I'm mostly self-taught. I never really finished school. And so a lot of what I learned was on the job and just like figuring stuff out on my own. And so I don't know, I think I kind of brought some different energy to it. And once I was done at BYU, I started doing like YouTube videos where I could like kind of just speak my mind and kind of share my thoughts and my ideas on stuff. And that, coupled with starting SVS Learn, was like my foray into being just like sharing the stuff. And so SVS was the place where I would share actual techniques, like here's how you make art. And my YouTube channel, I was like, I wanted to be different. I wanted to be, here's where I talk about issues and like ideas.
Yep.
And so that's where it came from. That's where it happened, I guess. It was kind of like necessity, because I wanted people to learn more about SVS, but I didn't, and I figured YouTube would be the best way to do that.
Yes. And it's interesting because both you and Sean are fathers, and I think there's something about being a parent too that might make you more adaptable to being an educator and having patience and being able to explain things to people. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because it's like all my siblings that have children, when I'm around them, I just notice like the level of patience that's required to explain the world to another human. Where sometimes when my nephews and nieces hang out with me, I forget that I'm not talking to an adult. So when they want me to explain something, I'm just like, what do you mean you don't get it? Like it's the, and you
Jim's like, you idiot. How do you not understand?
I'm a horrible uncle. I'm a horrible, but no, I think because Sean has a background in education as well, and it's like, that's a specific personality type. I feel like that.
Yeah, I would say I'm curious to hear Jake's thought on this, but I think the interest in me being a teacher and the that whatever it is in me that makes me a good communicator and whatever all that is was there well before children. For me, it comes from a deep desire to understand what I'm doing with my art and to understand like what other people did with their art. Like everything I do with art, it's like, well, why? Why would you do that? Because knowing that will help me make a better decision. So having that in me already, it's just like, oh, well, now I've got all these questions answered. Let me pass it forward.
Right.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense. And I think too, like, because I was really self-taught and wouldn't be where I was without other people imparting their knowledge to me freely and like openly, I kind of feel indebted, and I have this like pay it forward sense, you know, like why gatekeep some of this information? And
I have the same thing too, Jake. I totally understand that.
yeah.
Yeah,
But also it comes from, a day before the internet when like, I didn't even know people used a brush. And then when I found out like inkers were inking with brushes, I'm like, well, why? But I had no one to ask. So
Yeah.
you're trying to find answers to these questions, and it was a lot more difficult. So I think the information seems so much more precious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really was. There was, the information age was just like being born in the 2000s, and
Right.
where everything was like being uploaded, and now we're at this point where everything has been uploaded, and
Right.
where there's like no shortage of information. There's too much information actually, and
Yes.
there's
Yeah.
bad
Yeah.
information.
Yeah. A lot of bad
So,
information for sure. Yeah.
and so that's why we're like with SVS, we're like, what we're short on now is connection and like interactivity with each other in genuine ways. And so we'll provide the information, of course, but we'll also provide this connection. I mean, there's a reason you're doing live streams, right? It's because
Exactly.
it's
I
a
was just gonna say,
more genuine way to connect to people.
yeah. That's exactly. I mean, it's a big part of it. Like building a community where we can all enjoy the craft and pass information around and promote each other's work. Like,
Mm-hmm.
especially like you said, with so much bad information out there. Like, I don't know about you, Jake, but sometimes I'll go on YouTube to see what other like art instructor people are doing,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll see some people who are getting like hundreds of thousands of views on something, and the information in it is just horrible. But
Right.
because they presented it in a way that like people like, they just buy it immediately.
Well, and there's also no shortage. I think the problem with YouTube also though is it's if you want to get views, you have to be really entertaining. And
Right.
so
Yeah,
then
yeah.
a lot of these YouTubers lean into that at the expense of the education. I
Yeah,
think.
that's exactly what I was trying to say. You said it much better than I did.
It's because Jake is a pro at YouTube, Sean. He's a pro.
It's true. It's true.
Hey,
So I look
Jamie, Jamie, can you do me a favor and send me photo reference of yourself? Because I want to draw you
Of me?
into this character.
Okay.
Jamie, notice the traditional Scottish garb.
Dude, I'm loving it. I've been keeping an eye on it. I'm loving it.
The bottle of scotch. You're wearing like some Dracula mask. I don't know, but this needs to be you. So I just need.
All right.
If
Okay.
can you just text me like while we're. Sorry to interrupt the show, everybody. Sorry.
No. That's all good stuff.
I'll send you something, Jim.
And to the audience, remember, if we can get to $200 in super chats, Jim and I will sing "Happy Birthday to Jamie" on air. And we've got, what do we have, Jamie? $50 already.
$50 right now, guys.
But you guys want the super chats, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So this math's not adding up.
Jake, you're not getting away scot-free. You're
All right,
also going to have
Jake,
to sing.
how's this? How's this?
Shoot.
If we hit $200, we'll sing. But if we fit $500, we won't sing. How about that?
Right, that's perfect.
There you go. There you go. Jake, are you in Utah?
I was until about 5 years ago, and I moved down to Arizona.
Oh, nice. What part, if you don't mind me asking,
Uh,
or if you don't
East
want to
Valley.
reveal it?
No, it's fine.
Okay.
East Valley of Phoenix area.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I lived in Tempe for 6 years.
Oh, no way.
I moved there in '97, and then right after college, and had a blast there, man. And then moved to LA in like 2003. But there's some. Well, I moved with a girl that I was dating at the time in college, and we found this house that we moved in together, and but I really enjoyed Arizona, especially coming from the Midwest, because there's something magical about the desert in a way.
There
Yeah,
is.
I like it a lot. Yeah, I get that.
Tempe's cool. Especially in the 90s, Tempe was cool. I remember one time. So there's this street called Mill Avenue, and runs right next to the ASU. It's like practically on campus. And in the 90s, I don't know what it is like now, because I'm an old man and I don't hang out on college campuses anymore. But in the 90s, I was way into checking out the scene and everything. And on Mill Avenue, they had there's like an indie film theater, and there was like these restaurants and bars, and like it was where all the college kids hung out. But you would also like get in your coolest car and just run up and down Mill Avenue and like show off your wheels, right? And I worked at a video store, and there's a guy I worked with named Mario, and he had the dopest lowrider. It was purple. It was like a Chevy S10 lowrider.
Oh wow!
It was painted purple, and it had like Casper airbrushed designs all over it. Remember that movie Casper that came out in the 90s?
Oh, of course, yeah.
But his daughter's
the
guy had like a baby, and his daughter's name was Jasmine, and so he had it, instead of say Casper, it said Jasmine like all over it, right? And it was like a cool ride. And me and my friend Art Hernandez, who also worked at the movie theater, Art had this way with people where he could really just kind of talk you into anything. And somehow he convinced Mario to let us borrow his lowrider. And so we get into we go on break, and we get in the lowrider, and I'm like, Art, where are we going? He's like, Mill Avenue.
Yes.
So we go straight to Mill, which is like, I don't know, 15 minutes away. And we're just rolling up and down, and everyone's like, hey, what's going on? And Art's like, playing the bass super loud and everything. And it was just a very, very fond memory
That's awesome.
Of my time in pre-internet Arizona.
Yes.
Pre-September 11th Arizona. That was a wild time.
Yeah, man, that's my memory as well. Cause like I remember moving there in '97, and I didn't even have my first personal computer until like 98, 99, when I could afford to buy a used iMac off a designer buddy of mine.
Yeah.
But you're talking about Mill, and that like I lived on Fifth and Hardy, so I could just walk to Mill Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
So I would walk to Mill and hang out at the coffee plantation, the coffee shop, and I would purposely set up all my art supplies in my sketchbook, and people would just walk by and see me drawing, and that's how I met people and made friends, like graffiti writers, comic book artists, like whoever would walk by. Most people would stop and say, "Oh, hey, who are you? What are you doing?" And that's how I met people. People were friendly enough to actually just get a conversation going, through the art and stuff I was working on. So it was cool, man. I have good memories from being there.
It's a pretty good graffiti scene too.
Yes,
if I recall.
Yeah. Yep.
Jake,
And
go ahead, Jim. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Well, I was just going to say one last thing. The comic scene at the time was like Brian Pulido had started Chaos Comics, so he was out there. McFarlane's Productions and Todd were out
That's
there. So
right.
like occasionally I would meet, and Todd's still there, and occasionally I would meet people who worked for Todd. And then I met Rick Remender right at the same time where him and I were both getting published. So like 97, 98, I met Rick when he was self-publishing Captain Dingleberry.
I
and like
remember that.
and
Yep.
Blackheart Billy, the like
Yeah,
robot skater guy. So it was just funny because like to see the trajectory and growth of some of your friends in the industry. It's like I only knew Rick as an artist and an inker, and so when he became a famous established writer, that was kind of a interesting idea that the Blackheart Billy guy was now working on X-Men and stuff.
Yeah.
was
So my
cool.
first job was in 1998, and it was at Fox Animation Studios in Phoenix. And I don't know if you remember that or if you knew anybody who worked there, but
Yes, yeah,
but 20th Century Fox had an animation studio. They partnered with Don Bluth, or Don Bluth was like, yeah, I'll head it up. And it was Don Bluth and Gary Goldman. These guys, were famous for All Dogs Go to Heaven, American Tail, like all like Secret of Nim, all the
oh yeah,
the non-Disney, like edgy-ish, as edgy as they could get to still have a PG or a G rating. Those were those guys that were making those films, and they got a deal with Fox to like open a studio in Phoenix because I think tax reasons. Like it was cheaper, or there's
in Georgia,
it was like there's some incentive. And I in a long shot, I sent my portfolio in there to just see if I could get a job. I was talking to my old high school art teacher, and he's looking at my art, and he's like, hey, you should just try, see if they'll hire you, like entry level position. And he's like, I have another student of mine. I don't know if you ever met him, but he graduated like a year or two ahead of me, who's working there right now. He's in the in-between department, and he can tell you what to do. You should just hook up with him and like see what what kind of edge you can get on the competition. And so I submitted my portfolio. I met with him, and he's like, yeah, put these drawings in, put that drawing in. I submitted it, and they got back to me, and they're like, yeah, no, this is good. Let's move you to the testing stage. Let's see if you can do in-betweening. Now, in-betweening, like for people listening who don't know, is back when animation art was hand-drawn on paper, the animators would draw the keyframes. They draw, like if the screen's on me, I'll just show you really quick. Like they'll draw a character, standing like this, and then they'll draw on another page. They'll draw that character like throwing this punch, like that, and the arms back here, and the legs pushed a little bit further. And that is literally what an animator will do. Their assistant will then be like, extrapolate, and they'll be like, okay, we've got to have this fist kind of in the middle here for this frame, right? And this arm's going here. And then when that's passed off, and it's like maybe 5 frames per second that they've drawn, they'll then hand it, or 10 frames per second that it's drawn, they'll then pass it down to the in-between department. And our job will be to go in there and do all the different like movements in between, all the like the dumb drawings they don't want to do, right? And so I got this job to come and do the test just to see if I could do it. And I called Chris, the guy named Chris who I was working with, who was helping me out. And I was like, okay, how do I in between? I don't know how to do this. And so he like gave me a tutorial. I went over to his apartment for like a day, and he just showed me how to do everything. And he gave me like some test stuff to work on. And I just went to town, and for like a week straight, I just practiced and practiced and practiced. Like that's all I did. I was still in school too, so I was like, well, school needs to like take a back seat because I got to figure this out because I really want this job. And and the testing that I was doing was like a walk cycle, so it's like or like a character waving, really like kind of pretty basic stuff. And so I get in there to take the test, and I sit down, and they're like, okay, you have all day to do it. Just turn it in whenever you're finished. And I was okay, and they hand it to me, and it's Anastasia, because this is the studio that did Anastasia.
Oh,
it's
yes.
Anastasia, and she's got her ball gown on, and she's twirling in a circle, and she's like, whipping the gown around her. And it was all this secondary like animation overlapping stuff. And I was
man.
I was like, what? And so I dug deep. I was there. I was like in hyper focus mode where you almost feel like you're going backwards through time as you're like moving forward, like that hyper focus type of thing.
Yeah. Oh, I know that.
And I didn't eat lunch or anything. I just plowed straight through. And like every once in a while, I'd be like, my bladder would be like, hey, it's time for you to get up and relieve me. And I was like, oh yeah, I got to do that. And then I turned it in, and I got a call a few weeks later, and they're like, you just barely passed. You can come in and be,
shit.
We'll give you a job. And I was so naive at the time because I was young. I was like 21, I think.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, cool. Well, I'm still going to school, and these are my hours at school. And they're like, dude, this is a full-time job. Do you want it or not? And I was like,
oh shit. Okay.
I was like, oh yeah, I want the job. And so I went to all my teachers, and I was like, hey, sorry, I'm dropping out. I got this job at the animation studio. And then I enrolled in some night classes because I had time for those. But essentially, my focus was to be at the animation studio and learn as much as I could from all the different animators there. And like, I remember my first week there, I was getting a tour. I asked one of the sort of the production assistants to like, hey, can you show me around? Can you show me everything, just how everything works? And so he introduced me to like everybody, all the departments. They're like, hey, this is Jake. He's new here. We're just checking out. We just want to see what you're working on. And so then I got like kind of used to wandering the studio whenever I got bored. And I would just go like up to the background department and be like, hey, what are you guys working on? Or go to the concept artists. And the animators were pretty standoffish, so you couldn't like really hang out with the animators. It's true in every studio I've worked at. All the animators, they've got these egos, and so. But I remember one time I went into Don Bluth's office, and he had like this. It was kind of like the Emperor's throne room. Like you had to go through two different doorways to get like back to it. And he had a big, it was this big office with like, he had his own couches and tables, and like he had his own screening stuff and his own little animation desk. And he had his like, there's an assistant that he had who we nicknamed Simmons from Mr. Burns, like Mr. Smithers, Smithers, that's right,
Smithers,
Smithers. Because Don Bluth was Mr. Burns, and this guy was Smithers, and he was everything Smithers was, and Don Bluth was everything, Mr. Burns was, kind of, right? So I go in there and I'm like, oh, Don Bluth, I'm a huge fan. I really love it. Everything he's heard a million times before. And I had like the moxie or the gumption to be like, I'm just starting out in my career. What advice do you have for somebody who's getting into animation and wants to make this a career? And he kind of looks off into the distance, and he thinks for a minute, and he turns to me. And if you know Don Bluth, like he is a character, like he is, I don't know if he's playing somebody or if he's actually this person, but he looks at me and he says, someday, he said, if you work really hard and if you try your best, and if you do everything you're supposed to do, someday you will become a real boy.
What?
I was like,
What?
and I was like,
No.
oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you, Don Bluth.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah.
I guess he likes
So-
Pinocchio.
Yeah. So I think I'm pretty close to becoming a real boy. That's that's my,
And also, man, with that studio, the big production was Titan AE, right?
yeah, that's what I was working on. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dude, wasn't
So-
Nick Darrington working on Titan AE? No, that was something else. That was Texas.
Scanner Darkly
Yes.
with the Richard Linklater.
Yeah, the Linklater stuff. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because man, Jake, I think I was moving out of Arizona right when the studio was getting going, and then after Titan AE didn't do well,
Mhm.
the studio sort of folded, right? Like it was kind of an immediate thing. Am I remembering that
Yeah,
wrong?
so-
or-
No, you're getting it pretty close. So what happened was the budget for Titan AE was $70 million. And
Wow.
opening weekend, it made $7 million.
Oh,
And
geez.
so everybody was flipping out, like, what the heck, this is doom for us as a studio. What are we going to do? And maybe a month later, an executive from 20th Century Fox came out to visit the studio, and we all gathered around in this big meeting. Everybody was out in this courtyard, and he was up there talking, and he's just like, you guys have done such a great job, and you guys are very talented. And he said, but unfortunately, due to the return on this movie, we have to shut the studio down, and we will do our best to get you guys situated at other studios. We have a severance package for you. And we'll start paying that. It was like 6 weeks or 9 weeks of pay and benefits and everything. So it was like really, I mean, they were really professional about it, but so many people were devastated by it because a lot of the people who worked at that studio had either moved from Ireland and Canada.
That's right, man. Yeah.
Right, to be a part of it, because Don Bluth and Gary Goldman, their other studios they worked overseas. And so their idea was like, let's get all these people over here in the Americas or in the United States, and let's get them set up here, and in this world, and we can do it in Phoenix where it's cheaper and we can kind of afford to do the whole thing. And what's interesting too is like one of the first things, like everybody who was from the UK, one of the first things they did when they got here, I knew so many people with braces. Like they just got all their dental work done as soon as
Right. That's funny.
That's hilarious.
So anyway, so I remember DreamWorks was working on Spirit, Stallion of the Cimarron, and they came and they were like looking for people to do effects work and background stuff. And I remember doing a test for DreamWorks that I didn't pass. I didn't get hired on DreamWorks. And I think Disney was looking for people too. And I didn't get a job at Disney. And I think, well, interesting enough, the guy who fired all of us, his name is Chris Meledandri. And his whole thing, just to look at like the larger picture here, Toy Story had come out like 3 years prior to that in 95. And he and everybody was just in awe of what Pixar was doing. And everybody wanted to get into that game. And there's this little studio up in New York that was doing full CG commercials. Like they were bringing Pixar level quality to like commercial work. And so they hired the studio to do the Aliens in Alien 3, which originally they were going to do as puppets. And these guys were like, no, yeah, they're like, we can do it 3D and we can make it look even better. And there's another movie called Joe's Apartment, I think, where they had these like
Oh,
dancing
yes.
cockroaches.
Yep.
Yeah, I
Right.
remember that.
And they hired them to do that. And so these guys really proved themselves. And that studio up there, long term, they're like, well, we want to get into the Pixar game. We want to do animated films. So the way you prove yourself there is you make an animated short. So they made this animated short called Bunny. It was directed by Chris Wedge. And the studio, if you haven't figured it out already, was named Blue Sky. And the Bunny got an Academy Award for Best Animated Short. And it kind of put them on everybody's radar, not just as like, this commercial house that can like kind of fill in the gaps for bigger studios, but like a studio in their own right. And so Fox was like, all right, let's get in big with these guys. And they essentially were like, I think the big play was, let's shut down this 2D animated studio in Phoenix that totally tanked at the box office. Let's put our money into this studio up in New York, which is winning Academy Awards and doing really great work. And so that's what they did. And the first movie that they put out was Ice Age. And Ice Age was, if you don't remember, it came out in like March, and movies don't usually come out in March. Animated movies don't. And everybody's expecting it to completely tank at the box office, but it made like $40 million its opening weekend, which in the early 2000s was like, everybody was like, what was this? Oh my gosh.
Right.
And so Fox was like, we got ourselves a winner here. And so they just expanded the studio, kept putting more and more investment into it. They ended up moving it from White Plains, New York, where they were like located in like this high-rise building, and they built this big studio in Greenwich, Connecticut. Again, I think for tax reasons, they crossed the border. Like they were 30 minutes across the border from where they were before, but there's tax breaks for living in Connecticut. That's why all the rich people live up there. So
yes.
So that was 20th Century Fox. Am I boring you guys? Like
No, I'm fascinated.
No. Dude, yeah, this is awesome.
I also have so much to say, dude, because you're creating all these like Arizona memories for me of like, especially the influx of Irish people, because I remember being out at the nightclubs, and I used to do live art on stage. I used to paint on stage every Thursday night at this really great dive bar in Tempe called Nita's Hideaway. And there just became this like influx of super talented Irish artists everywhere, and they were all there specifically to work at the studio before things went belly up. So I did meet tons of new people, made new friends, but I also specifically remember Rick Remender was working on Titan AE and how upset and devastated he was when he lost his job. And I honestly think that's one of the motivations that he went into writing, specifically like concentrating on writing, because he knew he could draw, but I think he knew he was never going to become the monthly penciler at anything at like Marvel or DC. He could ink, but I think the animation stuff not working out really motivated him to go into this like writing storytelling direction.
That's cool.
And obviously that worked out really well for him.
Yeah. That's amazing. I didn't realize he worked there. I wonder if I met him and didn't remember. Do you know what department he was in? Was he an animator?
I think
he was
storyboarding. I thought he was in storyboarding.
He might have. Yeah, he might have been a board artist. Yeah. It's funny because it's a long time ago. So
the interesting thing about animation studios is you don't realize this even now, the amount of talent that works in these studios, that there's people that have zero online presence that absolutely dominate, just amazing, incredible artists. And they're all just hiding out at studios, collecting a paycheck and not thinking a thing about work after 6 p.m.
Yeah.
Yes. It's funny because we just had our buddy Scott Morse on the other Inkpulp show where Sean and Matteo Scalera just hang out and interview artists and talk about the industry. And
Yeah.
Jake's been on there.
Scott Morse is one of those guys that, you know, unfortunately Pixar let a bunch of people go, and now all those brilliant artists are back to sort of like the freelance grind after all these years.
This is why I'm not getting any phone calls for freelance work.
Right.
Because all the hot shots are doing it, which good on them. That's interesting.
Yeah. But Jake, you saying that, would you say these days, with everything you have going on and the graphic novel project you're working on, do you kind of create your own work? Like, do you want to make a book and then you just pursue making that book? You write and draw what you want to write and draw?
Pretty much, like, and at least that's the goal. And some years are better than others where I'm able to, either SVS is doing really well and that gives me the freedom to have a little bit of flexibility in my work, or sometimes like I'll get some really good freelance work that frees up. The best freelance work is the freelance work where you get paid like double or triple what you would normally spend the amount of time to do. So like instead of getting, maybe your day rate's $500 or $600, but you can actually finish your work for the day in 3 hours instead of 8 hours. And then you're like, well, I earned my money for today. Let's spend the rest of the time developing a thing. And so, different years are better than others. And that's always the goal, is like, let's make sure, like I have this thing, I've had this since I was at least in high school, where I don't let a year go by where I haven't self-published something or created something tangible that I could like stamp my name on and hand off to someone else,
right,
whether I sell it or not. And that's like a huge motivation for me to like keep, like, just knowing that a year can't go by unless I've done something. It's a huge motivation for me to like stay active and keep doing personal projects, because I find like I grow the most, I think, when I'm doing my personal projects. At least I feel like creatively, and so I don't want to like neglect those for too long.
Yeah. Dude, that's exactly how I feel. I'm glad that you said that. Like that's like even this Kickstarter book that I'm doing, just writing and drawing my own fucking weird Batman parody comic is basically what I'm making. It's been so fun, and there's been no rules, and I just get to write and draw and do whatever I want. And when I'm fully able to be me, that's when my best work comes out.
Yeah.
So, and I'm kind of juxtaposing that with.
Can I just interject one thing? Can I just pause you right there and speak to that? When I saw Defective Comics Presents, I was like, that is the most brilliant like coined term I've seen in a long time. Defective Comics. I'm like, it so encapsulates like what you're doing. I just thought, I was like, good job.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I mean, that's what these are. They are defective comics for sure, and it fits the branding. And but the cool thing about this year too is I've been able to do a lot of variant covers and licensed properties, Godzilla, Ninja Turtles, where you do have to do sketches. There is approval. You have to work with editors, art directors, licensing. So there's a discipline to that as a freelancer. But then when that gig is done and I deliver what the client wants and I feel good about it, they feel good about it, I get paid. Then, Jake, I'm able to do my warped little pages for my bizarre Defective Comics book. That makes me so happy. So I think you don't have to do one or the other. I mean, if you if you can do that, that's fine. But having the balance and having a steady paycheck of freelance work on top of making your own thing is always kind of a winning formula as well. So
I agree.
Yeah, you guys are making me super jealous because everything I'm doing is to try to get to a point where I can do my own stuff.
Well, that's
I've been
that's the
doing
other thing.
freelance. Yeah,
That's the other
go
thing,
ahead,
though,
Jay.
is, and I think Jim will agree, like, it doesn't come without some sacrifice. Like, especially at the beginning, if you kind of have to prove to the universe this means enough to you that you will forego some stuff in order to make it happen. And that's hard to say to someone who's like has a family and a mortgage and income
Right.
is really important. But and maybe I shouldn't give that advice, and hopefully my wife is listening, but
right.
but I think you if you're waiting for the right time to do it, it'll never come,
No, what I'm trying to do is build a life that will support me so I can do it. It's for me, it's just a
Yeah.
time issue. That's really
Yeah.
it.
I hear you.
That's the enemy, man. That's the time factor is
It's the
something
worst.
we all have to deal with. It there's no rule book, there's no instruction book on the time thing. It's just my thing with time management is predictable routine. Basically waking up and almost doing the same thing every day, the same schedule, the same work schedule, the same time I eat breakfast, the same time I go to the gym, the same time I answer emails. I've basically Monday through Friday, I'm basically repeating the same day 5 days in a row.
Right.
And that seems to work well for my schedule and my work output, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's something like, I think it was David Brooks said this quote. He's like, creative minds think like artists, but they work like accountants.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Like the really creative people who are getting stuff done, they're going to be, their brain, their headspace is going to be in the clouds, but their feet are like firmly planted on the ground. And they're like, they realize, like, if I'm going to get anything done, I have to have a schedule. I have to have a routine. Because I think the more routine you have, like, you only have so much creative capital to spend in a day. And if you're wasting it on like figuring out if you're going to go to the gym today or what outfit you're going to wear, that's less creative capital you could spend on, defective comics. And
right.
and so yeah, the more you can kind of just autopilot day-to-day stuff, the better. I think the more creative you're going to be.
Jay,
Yes.
didn't you tell me once that you like do you pick out all your outfits at the beginning of the week? Was that you telling me that?
I don't think, no, that wasn't me, but that's something I've heard like CEOs do.
Yeah.
You ever notice like these tech bros always have like, they pick an outfit and that's just what they wear. And it's them deciding, essentially them saying, this is one less decision I have to make today because I have so many other decisions I have to make.
It does make sense to do it that way. Like I hearing it, it's like, I get it. It's like, well, you don't have to do the 5 minutes or 10 minutes of like going through your closet in the morning. You just wake up and you're just handling shit right away.
Yeah.
That does make sense. And
it's the same with like food too. Like I know people will just do all their cooking on Sunday and then freeze it. And so they can just go and pop it in the microwave. They'll make casserole and they'll make sandwiches or whatever. And they've got lunches and dinners and breakfasts all figured out.
Not a bad idea.
I do that. I meal prep on Sundays.
And you just cold storage on everything? You just kind of...
Yeah, I make, I make a big batch of whatever it is, and I just put it in a big bowl with a lid in the fridge. And every day I scoop some out of it, and that's my lunch and my dinner the next day.
Nice. No one in the family steals it. You're all good.
Oh no, because I'm doing this Mediterranean diet thing, and they don't want to go near it. It's like I'll make brown rice and kale with garlic and onions and black beans, and then I'll just throw them all into a bowl, and that'll be like lunch the next day, and the day after, and the
Right.
day after. It's nothing like I'm not making like delicious Philly cheesesteaks that are sitting in the fridge waiting
Yes.
and getting eaten.
I was gonna say, going back to Fox Animation and like the Blue Sky saga,
Mhm.
I was gonna say that this Chris Meledandri guy who was running 20th Century Fox and sort of calling the shots and saying, you know, we got to shut down the animation studio here, put all our money into Blue Sky here. So I ended up working at Blue Sky like 10 years after or 8 years after I left or got laid off from Fox, right? And Chris Meledandri was still operating and running things. And one of the big things, the reason I got hired on it at Blue Sky was they were hiring on the art department for Horton Hears a Who, which was Dr. Seuss property. And this was going to be the first time Dr. Seuss had been, excuse me, the first time Dr. Seuss had been animated since The Grinch. You know, the Tex Avery Grinch show. And so they were really worried, like, is 3D animation where we want to go with this property? Like, is that what we're going to want to do with it? And so Chris Meledandri essentially had to like woo the estate owner, which was Theodore Geisel's wife. What was her name? Eleanor or something like that. Mrs. Geisel.
Right.
And Blue Sky did like this amazing animation test where they're like, this is Horton brought to life. This is how the Jungle of Duel looked. And eventually she, you know, everything comes down to like relationships, right? Like trust and relationships. And she's I trust you, Chris Meledandri. You look like you know what you're doing, but you've earned my trust. And so he gets the deal. And now Blue Sky is making Horton Hears a Who. The movie comes out. It's successful. You know, it does everything they want to do. Part of the Seuss estate was like, we want to keep Dr. Seuss in the zeitgeist. We want it to be relevant to modern generations. Well, unbeknownst to everybody at this time, but Chris Meledandri was like, why should I be working for a studio when I've got everything it takes to like start my own studio? And this is just the gospel of Jake right now. This isn't like this is how I saw it from my vantage point. But
lay it on us, Jake. Lay it on us.
But what ended up happening was he left 20th Century Fox and started Illumination Entertainment, taking all the lessons he had learned from building a successful animation studio. And one of the big things he learned was you got to have an iconic character that audiences just laugh at and can relate to. And it was Scrat for Blue Sky. Like Scrat was on everything. Everybody loves Scrat.
Yeah.
The squirrel get the nut. And so what he did was he's like, well, who's going to be our Scrat? And he's like, Minions. We're going to have Minions be our Scrat. And so he took that sort of from what he learned at Blue Sky. And then the other thing he did, because relationships are so important and trust is so important, he went to the Geisel estate and said, I want to make the rest of your films. Let's do the Lorax. Let's do The Grinch Stole Christmas again, but in 3D. Let's do not Cat in the Hat, but I think there's another one. And so all of these Dr. Seuss movies that Fox thought they were going to do went with Chris Meledandri because she trusted him and not necessarily the studio. And so, and then the other thing Chris did, his real innovation was, what if an animation studio, because the big expense is production, right?
Mm-hmm.
What if your studio was just the development part of it. So just the writers, just the storyboard artists, and some concept artists, and then everything else you farmed out to animation studios around the world who could do it cheaper. And so that's how Illumination's movies are made. Is there's a studio in France or there's a studio in Canada or whatever who do the production work, but everything's sort of designed and prepped and built, in-house in LA, and then sent out to those studios for production. So he can do them cheaper. They're just as beautiful. And he had all the relationships he needed. And eventually what happened was Disney bought 20th Century Fox. And with that deal came the animation studio Blue Sky. They ran it for a year under the Disney leadership and decided, why are we investing all this money in an animation studio that's in direct competition with Disney and Pixar? And we already have Pixar, so let's just eliminate Blue Sky altogether. And that's why that studio shut down a few years ago.
Damn, man.
Oh, shit,
My buddy Scott Mosier directed the Grinch movie, and he actually moved to Paris. For him and his wife moved for like 2 years, and they were doing all the pre-production and everything over there. So win-win situation for him. The weekend the Grinch movie comes out, it's #1 at the box office, and him and his wife got to spend a beautiful 2 years living in Paris, and working with some of the top, artists in the field. And
what a kid.
He loved it. He had a blast. So it was awesome to see his name in the credits. And he went from producing all of Kevin Smith's first movies to just kind of branching out and doing his own stuff. So
that's awesome.
Really good dude. Yeah.
Oh damn, Jake, you got color going and everything. You're well ahead of me.
Holy shit. It's a full finished piece.
Yeah, that's a baller.
It's good pencils. When I saw the pencils, I'm like, oh yeah, I know what I'm gonna do with this.
Oh, awesome.
Nice. That's a good sign.
Yeah, very much so.
And Jake, when you're I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I got these Ohuhu markers from Ohuhu. They ship these out to me to test out. And if anybody's looking for an affordable alternative to Copics, I do recommend them.
Okay.
Yeah, they're pretty good. But go ahead. Sorry to interrupt you.
Good to know. No, this is a channel where everyone is fetishizes art supplies. So
okay.
Yeah. If we can get good recommendations on art supplies,
we're very into art supplies.
I was going to ask you, man.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Jim.
Jake, when you're working on actual comics, producing sequentials, producing pages, do you have a strict schedule for that? Do you have a routine for that you follow?
Yeah. So the first thing I do, if you give me 1 second here, just a second.
Jim and audience, I'm sorry I'm so quiet. This is requiring deep, intense concentration for me, but I'm breaking some new ground here with my stuff.
Oh, dude, it looks awesome.
It looks amazing so far.
Yeah, you're doing
amazing. Great. I like the dry brush.
Yeah, that's why I was apologizing, Jake. I'm so quiet, but my brain is fully working at capacity on this.
Yeah, as it should be. So what I'm showing on my screen here is I make one of these things first, which is it's like a checklist.
Yeah.
The name for this specific thing is dropping on my head, but it's divided up into layouts, word balloons, pencils, inks, and if I'm coloring, it'll have a coloring section on it as well. And then I just figure out all the different pages. And this is what keeps me, when I'm on a big, long project, this is what keeps me motivated, just being able to finish a thing and coloring in that little square. And I can easily look up and see instantly how much I have left to go and how much I've completed. So that's sort of like my stay on top of things, administrative stuff for it. And then I work with Clip Studio Paint as like my main like comic, at least in the layouts and penciling stages. It may be penciled and inked traditionally, although lately I've just been doing, in the interest of time, I've been doing more digital, just so because I decided like no one's buying my original pages, so I might as well, until I reach some sort of level of superstardom, it doesn't make sense for me to be like making original ink pages if I'm short on time. I'd rather have a finished comic than to have that original art. So I work in Clip Studio Paint, and I'll pencil, ink, and I've got it down now where layouts take me 30 minutes to an hour per page. Pencils take anywhere between 2 hours and 4 hours, depending on the complexity. And then inking is like another 2 to 3 hours, depending on complexity. And so I'm down to about 4 to 8 hours a page, depending on, if it's talking heads versus it's 5 environments and an action, an action scene or something like that.
Right.
Just quickly, guys, to interject, we've got a few people in the chat asking if they can get Jake's originals and where they would be.
If they can get what?
Yeah, your original pages, if they're up for sale.
Oh, yeah. I have if you go shop.mrjakeparker.com, I do have a section on there with originals. There's some originals that are for sale.
Nice.
Yeah,
there you
very
go.
nice.
I may even have some old Rocket Raccoon pages on there right now too. I can't remember.
Oh, nice.
Oh man, that's a whole other thing. Okay. So wait, when Scotty restarted Rocket, he drew like what, the first 4 issues?
Yeah.
And then you came on.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
Wow, I totally forgot about that, man. What?
I know.
How was that? How was that experience?
It was the best. It was one of the best experiences I've ever had with comics. Number one, working with Scotty is like everybody should have a chance to do that, because he is such a creative, just a creative, easygoing guy. Like he has, he has standards and he has vision of what he wants to do, but he also understands delegation and like people's strengths. And so, he finished the first arc of the story, and it was Rocket's second arc, and he knew I was working on it. And he's like, okay, I know what you like drawing. I know what you're good at drawing, but is there anything you want to draw in these next few issues? And so I threw out some stuff, and he's like, okay, cool. And he'd go write some stuff and incorporate it in it. He'd bounce the stories off of me. He's like, okay, I got some ideas, and he'd pitch it to me. And I'd be like, oh, yeah, that's good. I know what I'd do for that. And I'd pitch him some stuff, and he'd incorporate it, or he'd be like, no, that's kind of not what I'm thinking. And then I'd get the script, and literally a page would be like, Rocket says this, and the opponent says this, and you do your thing on the rest of the page. Do however many panels you want, just make it happen.
Oh wow, okay.
And then, but then there were but then some pages he's very specific. He's like, okay, I need this panel to have this in it. I need this panel to look like this. And so it was a nice balance of me having creative freedom, but also not having to like shoulder all the creativity,
Yes. So it sounds like some of the pages were actually just written like old school Marvel method.
Yeah.
In a way. And because I got to draw a Howard the Human one-shot with him at Marvel years ago.
Oh, nice.
As part of their Secret Wars crossover series or something. But, the joke, the idea is that Howard gets stuck in a human body and in all animal universe. So it's the reverse of Howard the Duck. So,
That's
but you know, the way Scotty wrote it, it's kind of like what you just said. It was playing to all my strengths, and it was just pure fun. Like the whole book was just all fun.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
it was a cool thing to work on, man. Well, obviously he's a fantastic artist, so it's like he knows how to write for
You're right.
artists. You know,
Yeah. Because he's I don't know, he's drawn. Do you ever like count how many pages you've drawn in your career and like try to figure out how many pages other artists have done in their career?
Yeah, I have done that.
oh
And
man, yeah.
I'm like, if he's done, you know, for let's say 15 years straight doing a monthly comic at 20 pages a month, and then he kind of went into that covers era where he's doing like multiple covers every month and sort of shifting to writing,
Mhm.
and then back to doing I Hate Fairyland, which he was drawing. And you know, you just think about it, that's like thousands and thousands of comic pages.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
You know, man.
you just can't count it, right? And I'm like at maybe 1,000 or 1,500 pages maximum. So
Right. Yeah, I'm
So
trying to
there's
think now. Like, I don't even know where I would be at because I have all the stuff I did in college, and yeah, I don't know. That's an interesting thing to actually like go through. I don't go through my archives that often because I'm always more concerned about the newest stuff I'm working on. So sometimes it doesn't hurt to look back, you know, and see where you've come. I'm going to be doing that next year because I'm publishing an omnibus for the Girl Scouts, my Girl Scouts characters.
cool.
It's the 30th anniversary.
oh
And
wow.
I have to go through my archives, man, and dig through because the goal is to like publish literally every Girl Scouts thing I've done
Oh
in
my
one book.
God.
That's awesome.
That's gonna be great.
So, you know, the last couple of trades, obviously I just have the whole PDF of that, but there's stuff from 95 that I have all the original art, thankfully, but I need to rescan all of it, you know.
Yeah. So it's a
So-
it's a remastered edition, right?
It's a yes. Yeah. It's going to be cool when it's all done. I'll be
Yeah, it is.
relieved when it's all said and done, but I have my work cut out for me. So
Well, I'm calling this Batman page done.
that's badass, man.
that
Look
looks
at that.
awesome.
Damn, Jake, that looks great.
With the orange, get some Halloween in there, man. It's
Yeah.
awesome.
I got another one here. I don't know how much more time I have, but I could probably go another 20 minutes maybe.
Yeah,
That's perfect.
That's
We-
how much time we have. Yeah.
Yeah. Do another 20,
Yeah.
man. And oh wow, dude, that looks great. What
Oh yeah.
is this your character?
Yeah, this is mine. So day 4 of Inktober is exotic, and I'd done before I got busy. Where are my Inktober drawings? I'd done two drawings. I swear I had them right here. Oh, there they are. I did backpack for day 1.
Oh, that's
And
great.
this is Missile Mouse, you know, digging around,
Yeah,
getting ready.
Great.
And then
That's
day
great.
2 it was discover, and so I had him discovering this thing, and then I had to go to Utah to do that talk. I had to prepare for it. Had to bust out a bunch of comic pages before I left, and so I just skipped Boots and penciled exotic, and I figured she would be the guardian of this skull tomb techno tomb thing.
Yeah, I love that drawing.
It looks
That makes sense. That's great.
So,
Seeing those pieces, man, reminds me another question for you. Where and when did you discover your love and ability to draw gear and tech and vehicles? Because a lot of artists steer clear of that.
oh right, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Honestly, it dates back to the 80s and Transformers and like G.I. Joe
Oh yeah. Okay.
and Back to the Future. Like I have drawings as a kid of the time, I have this drawing that's like Time Car, and it was my like own version of the Back to the Future car. And
That's
I
great.
I loved
Art.
Time Car. I remember Robotech too, like that show blew me away.
Oh, for sure. Yep.
And so I was drawing robots all the time and drawing vehicles all the time. And then in high school, I like in junior high. Oh, actually, there was a time period in junior high where I had like a subscription to Automobile magazine, and because I subscribed to Automobile because they always showed concept art for cars as opposed to Car and Driver, which was more about like vehicle statistics or vehicle stats and stuff like that. And so I got Automobile magazine because I wanted to see all the cool concept art, and I was designing my own like cars all the time, like through junior high school. And then I discovered comics, and the comic artists that really spoke to me was Jim Lee, because he did Amazing Tech, and
Oh yeah.
and then I found like Akira and Appleseed and Battle Angel Alita, which were all like robot based, tech based stuff. And I just sunk my teeth into that. And Dave Johnson too. Dave Johnson was like a huge force in my early drawing upbringing, because he like that Super Patriot stuff. Like,
oh yeah, man.
It was game over. I was like, this is it. This is the peak cool design, right?
Yeah.
And because his technology wasn't the thing I loved about Dave Johnson was his tech that he designed for Super Patriot actually had like volume.
Yes.
Right.
You would see where Rob Liefeld would bring energy, Dave Johnson would bring like volume and tactile like mass to it. And so that's what I was always drawing. And I was, those are my teachers, them. And then I loved Mike Mignola. He also has this beautiful mass and volume to his drawings, even though they're so simple. But what was really exciting for Hellboy, because I remember seeing that on the stand the day it came out, and I was like, I had already known this artist because he had done like an X-Force comic. And
right.
I love that issue. I love that issue, man.
Yeah. That issue came out and I was like, whoa, who's this? And my young growing art brain was like, okay, this guy's special. This guy's doing something a little different. He was zigging while everyone else was zagging, or the opposite or whatever. And then I heard he was doing Hellboy. I saw that from Dark Horse and I was a fan right away. And the thing I loved about that was he was it wasn't like flashy and action, but it was mood and vibe, which I feel like was missing from comics. So if you mix in, so it was Mike Mignola, it was I'll call it the quartet with Dave Johnson, Masamune Shirow, Otomo, and Katsuhiro, who did Battle Angel. Man. Those guys were like my tech inspirations. Mike Mignola was like composition and vibe inspirations. And then I was at San Diego Comic-Con and I saw this big book at one of these used books or rare books or whatever, foreign book tables, booths. It was like early 2000s, and there's this big word on the top that said Mobius. I'm like, what's Mobius?
Oh shit, man!
Oh shit, dude!
And then your life changed, and then your life changed. Yeah,
right. So what he taught me to really embrace, because the missing element to my work out of all that was environments. Like, how do you do a beautiful environment? Like this kind of stuff. And I looked to him and I'm like, okay, I've got the artist I go to for environments. And then my I guess my application, my line work is all Bill Watterson, because that's where I learned how to draw originally, was Calvin and Hobbes. So,
Yes. Damn, man, those are all stellar Mount Rushmore level
yeah.
inspirations, and
Yeah, that's great.
I can see
stuff.
it. I can see it in your work, like everything you've mentioned. It makes total sense. It's awesome. But yeah, it's wow, discovering Mobius. I think everyone remembers where they were, like when when
Yeah. It really is. He really was somebody special. And it's funny too, like, I don't know if you read James Gurney's Substack, but he does a good job. He's always had a blog, and I think when he's discovered Substack, he's like, okay, I'm just gonna move everything over here now, because he's so good at communication and education, stuff like that. But he recently did a post about there was a gallery show in the 2000s, I think, where Mobius and Miyazaki had a show together in Paris.
Wow.
Showed their works. And I don't know if you guys do this. Do you remember that?
I remember that show. I didn't see it, but I remember it happening. Yeah.
Yeah. So Miyazaki and Mobius, they had like this bromance for years, because Miyazaki would go to France to do like research trips and stuff. And if you ever see Nausicaa, if you ever read Nausicaa, the thing that sets it apart from other manga is that it is it's essentially a French comic style done in Japan, like done with Japanese sensibilities, right? You look at the layouts, you look at the panel count, you look at sort of like the proportions of the pages, and you're essentially looking at a French comic. And one of his big inspirations was Mobius, and Mobius likewise was like massively, and how could you not be inspired by Miyazaki, his work, because of how he changed animation and inspired so many people in the animation world. And so it just made sense that those two would find each other and like appreciate each other and sort of build this friendship. I don't know how much Miyazaki could make friends. He seems like a hard person to I don't part of me thinks some of it's show, like his gruff exterior, and that he does have some really good personal relationships, but part of me also thinks like maybe he's just a hard person to be around. I don't know.
Right. Just too much of a genius. It's like,
yeah. But the thing that sets those two artists apart from everybody else is so when I worked at Fox Animation, this was in the 90s, one of my coworkers brought in Princess Mononoke, and he's all, check this out. This is a film that just came out in Japan, and it's supposed to be really amazing. Let's watch it. And he had a VHS. It was like a bootleg VHS, and it wasn't dubbed. It was just straight up in Japanese, and the whole department sat down and watched it start to finish. And none of us spoke Japanese, but we followed that story. And
That's awesome.
And the same thing with Mobius. When I picked up his book and was leafing through the comic pages, I couldn't speak French, but I could still easily follow the story. And that's what those two, I think that's where their genius lies, is that they understand like the human condition. They understand storytelling so deeply at its core that language is not a barrier, because they're speaking in the language of visuals and human understanding, and not in the specific, language they speak, they're raised in, right?
Right.
Right. So it makes sense that those two would like be drawn to each other.
Oh yeah, man. It's like
Yeah.
it's a meeting of the minds. It's crazy.
Jim, how's your piece coming? I haven't been able to look up much.
It's insane, Sean.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
It's a
It looks so good.
Jamie, are we
Jamie-
missing a bunch of questions?
Yeah, I've not wanted to interrupt you guys. The stories have been awesome, but we've had a bunch of people chatting and asking questions. A good question we just got there from Inkscribes is, what percentage of your week do you estimate is devoted to business versus producing art? And that's for all of you guys.
That's a good question.
Jake, you want to take that first?
Yeah, I'll take it first. I will say right now I'm working Saturdays because the deadline on this graphic novel is pretty insane. Typically I take weekends off. So this season of my life, it's 4 days art, 2 days business, 1 day completely unplugged and off. So Sundays I just chill, family time, just hang out, recharge, and then Monday through Saturday I'm working pretty hard.
Yeah. It was, I guess the ratio for me from actually being at the drawing table, producing the actual art, producing the work versus doing administrative stuff. I don't know if that's the question.
Yeah, that's how I understood it.
Yeah, that's how
to me, it's like 70-30. 70 focused on studio time, drawing, making the work, 30 on administrative business. But since the Kickstarter started, it's getting closer to 50-50 now, where there's certain days where I'm not sitting down at the drawing table until like 3 in the afternoon or 4 in the afternoon. And I'm usually ending at like 7:30 or 8 because I don't do all nighters, and I have to end the day with at least 2 hours of alone time, unplugged, either with a movie on or just music in the background. And I'm just like sitting on the couch looking at the ceiling or whatever, like reflecting on the day, reflecting on my life, but not in, don't be concerned, you guys, not in a sad or strange way, but just like, wow, okay, I'm using my brain at full capacity from the time I wake up until 8 o'clock every night. It gets a little tedious sometimes, but it's better than digging ditches or whatever.
No, so. I mean, well, there is a cognitive demand in doing creative work that necessitates a certain amount of recharge time. Like you're just toast. And like they've done studies that even people who are concert pianists or violinists who do these insane, intense like practice sessions actually have to stop and nap before they can resume it after a couple hours, because their brain essentially sleep and napping is sort of like it scrubs your brain of all of the thinking chemicals that go into that, and kind of recharges your brain for so you can go back at it again. And they actually have shown that if you actually perform better the morning after a long practice session than you were at the end of that practice session the day before. So it's something about how your brain organizes and categorizes and recharges. Something goes on that you can wear it out in a day, and you need that recharge time.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, that does make sense.
What about you, Sean?
Well, right now I'm in a building phase where I'm building a lot of things that are requiring a lot of time so that they can then pay me the money to let me do my own stuff. So it's a lot of business, a lot more than art right now, which I don't love, but I have a goal and I'm working to get there. But actually, Jake, can we talk about anything you and I have going on?
Yeah, bring it up.
So one of the things I'm doing, Jake reached out to me at the end of last year. I guess you had saw some Inkpulp instruction stuff and wanted to talk about like my experience with online education with art. And we got together and we have two things we're building. One is a workshop, which is coming up soon. What do you know
like
when we're going to advertise
40 days?
that? Yeah.
I just met with the team about the landing page for it, and they said that landing page should be up next week.
Great.
Some point. So
yeah, Jake and I are doing a comics workshop, and then we're also developing or have been developing a 10-week course, comics A to Z, basically.
Nice.
So those are some of the things I've built. So stuff like that, like working on the content for the course and stuff of that nature is where my time is going. Also been learning to tattoo, so it's hard for me to even separate like business and art right now because some things are so intertwined. But it's also 7 days a week for me, and it's a lot. But you guys are dead on because I just got back from a trip to Italy, and right before we left, I was just feeling like I was going to crack in half. And I came back from that trip. Yeah, I came back from that trip so refreshed, so recharged.
That's
that
good.
I'm actually going to schedule myself a day off a week. I just have to.
Yeah.
I can't keep going at that pace. It's crazy.
What was it? There's a Abraham Lincoln quote that says, he said, if you were to challenge me to a wood chopping or to a wood, I think it was a log sawing competition, right? And he said, I would take, how many logs you could saw in 4 hours. He's like, I would take the first 3 hours and sharpen my saw. And then the last hour, I would just I would totally school you with the sharpest saw you've ever had.
Makes sense.
I completely murdered that quote. I'm sure it's sharpening an axe or something, but you get the point.
Yeah. Totally.
Makes sense though.
Dude, I will. What were you gonna say, Jim?
I was just gonna say, how are we doing on time, guys? Is everybody cool?
Yeah, is it time to shut it down? Yeah, we can shut it down. I can finish this tomorrow. To this took a lot of brain power.
I got a good start on this one.
Yeah, Sean, that looks crazy, dude. Like that's a whole other thing you got going on there.
Yeah,
so good.
Yeah, I'll finish it tomorrow. But I'm happy with the results. Very happy. I mean, you can see there's so much beautiful stuff going on, all in it.
Damn, dude. Yeah. So great.
So if anyone wants a commission like that, let me know because I have slots open for New York.
Now, Jamie, very important thing here, buddy. This is almost done. When it's done, I will ship it to you. It's your birthday gift. Oh, now, because of YouTube, Jamie, when this stream ends, this girl here, she is going to be fully topless.
She's going to get spicy, is she? I like that.
There's going to be full nipples on her because I know you're a pervert. Well, I know your family wants to see a topless girl hanging on it's going to be in the living room. You're going to frame this
right above the TV. Like right where my daughter watches everything, right there.
Yeah. That's what Don't worry, bro. It's not going to be a bikini top or anything. This is going to be full topless. I just can't do it on camera. So
I appreciate that, Jim.
Happy birthday to you, man.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Jake.
Thank you.
Yeah. Jake, big thank you to you for coming on. That's
Thanks
looking
for-
great. And
Thanks
look
for
at
having me
all the
on.
work.
Here's my
Yeah,
here's my offering to the
Yeah,
ink.
those
That
are
looks so
great.
great, man. It's
Those are
awesome,
great.
buddy.
And all of you out there, since you're all kind of into art knowledge, make sure you check out SVS Learn. That's Jake and a few other guys' school online that I recommend highly. And we'll be doing stuff together in the very soon.
Sounds
Oh
good.
yeah.
Oh,
And,
Ron Deck. So wait, real quick. This is a commission for Ron Deck, and he's there watching. I'm glad you like it, Ron. This is a milestone piece.
Oh, that's
But
awesome.
go ahead, Jim. You were going to
Nice.
say.
Oh, I was going to say, and to everybody who's hitting up New York Comic Con next week, it's already here. I'll be in Artist Alley at table D26 with original art. I've got new Godzilla posters, prints that I made that I'll be bringing. This is the cover to the first issue of Tom Scioli's new Godzilla series. So I've got new prints.
I love it. I love it so
Trades.
much.
And come say hi, you guys. And Sean and I will have gift packs of
Oh
Inkpulp
yeah,
swag.
giveaways. Yeah, we got all kinds of good giveaways for you guys. For show.
Awesome.
Yes.
This is cool.
Good to go, guys.
Jake, thank you again for being our guest. Thank you for the knowledge. It was a pleasure, man. It was
Thanks
awesome
for letting me
rocking out
tell
with
stories.
Thank you
you.
very
Yeah,
much.
come back anytime, man. And Jazzy Jamie Wood, happy birthday, brother. We love you. Thank you for the hard work. Thank you guys, everybody who joined us in the chat. As always, it was a blast. Damn good time.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, you guys.
See ya.